without a verb, you can never frame a sentence. Only a verb can also be a sentence, but without a verb, there exists no sentence at all. The cat, here subject can be a phrase. Phrase means more than one word. Okay, so the cat, an article is added and a noun is added. It can be a phrase also. In any sentence, if the sentence pattern is subject, verb and object or verb and object, in any sentence, if there is an object, then only it is called as a transitive verb. Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shalini, Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Let us now start with our language component for third semester BCom. Okay, so we have active and passive voice in the language component. So before we enter into this active and passive voice, before we could understand that, there are some things which we have to be aware of. Okay, so let us start with the prelims. So what are we going to have in this session? What are we going to learn in this session? First, let us understand these basic things. Okay, so in this module, you will be understanding what is a sentence. Okay, so we'll just start with the definition of what is a sentence and then we'll move on to what is a phrase. Okay, so before we move on to active and passive voice, it is very important for us to understand transitive and intransitive verbs. So that is what we are going to understand here. Okay, so we'll understand transitive and intransitive verbs, the basic things that are required to understand active and passive voice. Later, we'll move on to those verbs that are used both as transitive and intransitive verbs. Okay, so let's begin our session today. So at first, as I said, we have to understand what is a sentence. Okay, a sentence, you have been learning it from lower grades. Okay, so a sentence is actually a group of words, okay, which is arranged in a very meaningful way. So as soon as you read that, you will be able to get the meaning of what the person is going to tell. Okay, so a sentence is basically a group of words that is arranged meaningfully. Okay, the second point which we have to understand is a sentence is also called as an independent clause. Okay, all sentences are called as clauses. Okay, all sentences are clauses. These are specially called as independent clauses. Independent clause because you can get the meaning, you can understand the complete meaning, so it is called as an independent clause. There are also dependent clauses which you will be learning a little later. Okay, so now let us understand only the independent clause and it is a sentence. Okay, and sentence must have a verb in it. Without a verb, you can never form a sentence. Okay, without a subject you can form, without a pronoun, noun, anything. But without a verb, you can never frame a sentence. Only a verb can also be a sentence, but without a verb, there exists no sentence at all. Okay, so verb you can consider as the heart of the sentence. Okay, so now you can just see the sentence, she is playing in the park. Okay, so here this verb, there is a verb in this sentence. Okay, so that is play. So I just gave you an example of a sentence wherein a verb exists. Okay, so let us move on to understand what is a phrase. Okay, so now phrase is actually a group of words, okay, which has no meaning. A phrase will never have a meaning in it and it also doesn't have a verb in it. Okay, so suppose I say in the park. So let me give you a complete sentence. Okay, let me give you a complete sentence. You'll be able to understand and differentiate the, like you'll understand what is the difference between a sentence and a phrase. Okay, so let me just say, she is playing in the park. Okay, so she is playing in the park. Here you can get the meaning completely, isn't it? You can get the meaning completely by reading this sentence, isn't it? But this sentence still here itself is giving you complete meaning. So this can be called as a sentence. This can be called as a sentence and the part which is adding some meaning to it, this part of the sentence is actually adding a meaning to it, extra meaning to it. So this is called as a phrase. Okay, this is called as a phrase. It is a group of words. It does not have a verb in it. Okay, park is a noun. Park is a noun. This is an article. Okay, so this is a preposition. Okay, so here there is no verb at all. In this sentence, in this part of the sentence, there is no verb at all. So that is called as a phrase. Okay, so by reading this whole sentence, you can understand that the part which gives you complete meaning is a sentence. The part which adds on to the meaning of the sentence, extra meaning. Okay, so that is called as a phrase. A phrase basically is just a group of words which does not have a meaning, and also it does not have a verb in it. Okay, so now let us move on to the sentence pattern in English. Okay, understanding sentence pattern is very important in order to understand the transitive and intransitive verbs. There are various sentence patterns in English. Okay, so basically when you learn forming sentences, you will frame sentences in this way only, wherein you have a subject, you have a verb, and you have an object. Okay, so subject is something which does the action. Okay, so subject is nothing but the doer of the action. Subject is the doer of the action, as I said. Okay, so the verb is carried on through this subject only, by this subject only. Okay, then we have a verb. Then we have a verb, which is very much essential in a sentence. Okay, at last we have the object. Okay, this object is actually the receiver of the action. Okay, this is the receiver of the action. Fine, subject does the action, object receives the action. Okay, so action is the verb. In this sentence you can see Ram killed Ravan. So here this is the subject, this is the verb. Okay, so that killing happens on Ravan. Ravan is receiving the action. Ram is doing some action, Ravan is receiving some action. Okay, similarly here also the cat. Here subject can be a phrase. Phrase means more than one word. Okay, so the cat, an article is added and a noun is added. It can be a phrase also. Okay, so this is the subject. Drank is the past tense of the verb. That's fine. Past tense, present tense, anything is fine. Verb has to be there. Okay, then the object. So some action is happening on the milk. So that is the object. So this is the basic sentence pattern of English. Subject, verb and object. Then we have another pattern of sentence, that is here verb and object. Okay, all imperative sentences can be considered under this. Okay, why do we call them imperative sentence? Why do we consider them in this sentence pattern? All imperative sentences will not have a subject. Okay, what are imperative sentences, by the way? Imperative sentences, wherever you have the request, okay, wherever you have request, order, okay, or maybe instruction, okay, all these come under the imperative sentences. All these come under imperative sentences. Okay, so requests, orders and instructions all are coming under imperative sentences. Okay, in all these sentences you can see, open the door, I'm telling somebody, I mean to say I'm ordering somebody. So you don't have a subject. Who has to do that opening? Who has to perform the action? Okay, so there is nobody there. I'm not telling you open the door, he opened the door. Then the sentence will be wrong. Grammatically the sentence will be wrong. But here, since I'm just telling open the door, I may point to somebody, I may be looking at somebody when I'm telling that, but I'm not using any subject over there. Okay, so this has no subject. Similarly, wish you good luck. Here also, wish is it starts from a verb actually. All the sentences you can see, it starts from a verb. Okay, apart from requesting, you have a word for requesting. Please, that kind of word. Kindly, please, all these are words wherein you express requisition. Okay, so here all the imperative sentences usually begin with verbs only, the action words. Okay, so here also open the door, there is no subject. Wish you good luck, I'm wishing somebody. Okay, so here also there is no subject. Okay, please come here, who has to come? Please come here, who has to come? We have not mentioned here. Okay, so here also there is no subject. Here also keep your phone on charge for 8 hours. Okay, so here also whom are you telling? No idea. So all these sentences, all these imperative sentences, they are considered to be under this sentence pattern. Okay, so this is one of the sentence patterns in English wherein you don't have a subject. There are sentences wherein there are no objects also. There may not be objects also. So here you can see there will be only subject and a verb. Okay, I laughed loudly. Who laughed? Who is doing the action? I. Okay. Laughed. This is the verb. Then loudly. Loudly, by this loudly word, you can see that you're asking how did the action happen? Okay. How did you laugh? So you are asking the way in which the action has happened. You're talking about the way in which the action has happened. So here, this has no object here. This cannot be considered as an object. It is not an object. Okay, it is an adverb. Okay, so this is an adverb actually. How the action has happened, that means it is an adverb. The second sentence also, the lion roared. Here also, the subject is the lion. Roared is the verb. Okay. Roared what? You have no object there. Subject is there, verb is there is no object. So, there are sentences wherein there is no object also in the sentence. Okay. So, we have understood 3 different sentence patterns in English. Okay. So, which are those? Subject plus verb plus object can be there. It can be verb plus object only. Okay. So, we call it as imperative sentences. Okay, then we have this subject and verb also. So there also you don't have an object. So sometimes you will not have an object also. So these are the 3 different sentence patterns that we had to understand. Now we'll move on to what are transitive and intransitive verbs. Okay, hope this much is clear to you, because based on this we are going to understand about transitive and intransitive verbs. So let us move on. So what are transitive verbs? First, we have to understand the definition. Okay, we already know what is a subject, what is an object and all. Okay, so now transitive and intransitive verbs are categorized based on the object in the sentence. Okay, it is basically the object that plays a major role while deciding whether the verb is transitive or intransitive. Okay, so let us now begin. Main verbs in the sense, in the sentence there is a verb there. Okay, so they are called as main verbs. There are auxiliary verbs also, like verbs like is, was, has, all these might be there without any other verb. Okay, so these are called as auxiliary verbs. Okay, these are called as auxiliary verbs. For example, she is happy, I say. Suppose I say she is happy. Here I have no verb. Okay, here I have no verb in the sentence. Okay, so this cannot be considered as a main verb. It actually is only the auxiliary verb that is used as a main verb. Okay, so these usually auxiliary verbs, they do not take objects at all. Okay, so we'll just go further now. So she is happy. Here main verbs, we are talking about main verbs. Here I showed you what is an auxiliary verb. Now we'll go on to the main verb. Okay, so main verbs usually take an object. Main verbs usually take an object, and those verbs are called as transitive verbs. In simple words to say, in any sentence, if the sentence pattern is subject, verb and object, or verb and object, in any sentence, if there is an object, then only it is called as a transitive verb. Okay, in any sentence, if there is an object, then the verb in the sentence is called as a transitive verb. Okay. So you can just note down this definition if you want. So transitive verb is a verb that denotes an action to be passed on from the subject to the object. Okay, we'll see a few examples of how it is passing on from subject to the object. So here in these sentences you can see Krishna plays the flute. Okay, so Krishna is the subject because he is doing the action. Okay, he is the doer of the action. So this is the subject. Fine. Then this is the verb. This is the verb. So we have an object that is passing on. Okay, Krishna plays what? He plays flute. Okay, so this is the object in the sentence. So there is an action that is happening from Krishna, by Krishna, which is done on the flute. Okay, so the action is passing on from Krishna to flute. Similarly, in the second sentence, I heard a noise. So this, somebody is doing some action, hearing is happening here. So this is called as a subject, and this is the verb. Okay, what did you hear? A noise. So this is the object of the sentence. Okay, in these 2 sentences also there are objects. Similarly, the last sentence also you can see my mother. Here my mother, there are 2 words. Okay, it's a phrase, but it is considered as the subject. Subject can be a phrase. Okay, object also can be a phrase, or only one word also is possible. So here this is the subject of the sentence, and here plucks is the verb. Okay, the flower. Again, it's a phrase, but it's an object of the sentence. Okay, so basically in all the three sentences, there are objects. Okay, so the verbs like plays, then verb heard. Okay, then we have this pluck. Okay, plucks for example. So these three can be considered as transitive verbs. Okay, it is very simple to remember. Whenever the subject transfers the action to the object, transfers, so it is called as a transitive verb. Okay, so now let us move on to the next one. What is intransitive verb? Very simple. You have already understood what is a transitive verb. So now it is easy for you to understand what is an intransitive verb also, because if there is an object, it is transitive. If there is no object, it is intransitive. Simple. Okay, so easy to comprehend, isn't it? So the main verbs that do not take an object, okay, that do not take an object, they are called as intransitive verbs. Okay, simple. Similarly, the same thing, I have just written the definition here. The action, the verb actually does not pass on, does not pass over to an object. Okay, here the action does not pass over to the object because there is no object at all to receive the action. Okay, so there is no object there. Fine, let us see a few examples here. So Radha laughed. Okay, suppose I am laughing or somebody else is laughing. So laughing can happen on myself. You cannot do it on somebody. You can laugh at somebody. You can look at somebody and you can laugh. But you cannot laugh somebody, isn't it? So here you can see Radha, this is the subject. Somebody is doing the action. So this is the subject. This is the verb. There is no object at all. There is no object at all. Similarly here, Sita is running. Sita is doing some action. This is the subject. Is running. This is the verb. Yeah, tense changes. Here it is past tense, it is present tense. Tense changes, but there is no object here. There is no object at all. Okay. So Ganesh sleeps. Here Ganesh is doing some action. This is the subject. Sleep is the verb. He is doing some action. Where is the object? Okay. Ganesh sleeps what? Sleeping can happen on somebody, on themselves. But here there is no object at all. You cannot sleep somebody. Okay. You can put somebody to sleep but not sleep somebody. So there is no object here. Again, there is no object. So such sentences where there are no objects at all. Okay. So they are, in those sentences, the verbs are called as intransitive verbs. Okay. Now let us move on to one of the important concepts now. Can few verbs be used both as transitive as well as intransitive? Okay. In some sentences, verbs might have been used as transitive. In some sentences, the same verbs may be used as intransitive verbs. Okay. Let us see a few examples like that. Okay. So there are few verbs in the sentence, in English, which can be used as both transitive and intransitive. Okay, so here are a few examples. Here you can see on the left side, you can see the verbs that are used as transitive. The same verbs are used as intransitive both are used over here. Okay, so let us begin with this. So intransitive, you can see over here, there are no objects in these sentences. Okay, so there are no objects in these sentences. The man walked slowly. I'll just mark the subject, verb. This is the adverb. Okay, is there an object here? No, there is no object here. So there is no object, hence it is intransitive. Similarly, the verb walked is used as transitive verb here. Okay, how is it? The ringmaster walked the lion. Walking the lion or walking the puppy, whatever. Okay, that means you take them for a walk. Okay, so here the ringmaster in the circus, this is the subject, and so ringmaster is the subject over here, and this is the verb, and you have an object here. What is he walking? He is walking a lion. Okay. So this is a different concept. Around the ring is different concept. You cannot consider that as an object. Okay. So let me just tell you, always the objects or subjects, whatever it is, they have to be nouns or pronouns only. Okay. They cannot be adverbs. They cannot be prepositional phrases or nothing like that. Okay. They have to be either a noun or a pronoun. That's it. Okay, so next, let us just see another example. The eagle is flying. Here, is flying is the verb. So let me just start with the subject and verb. Again, there is no object at all. Okay, there is no object at all in the sentence. So it is intransitive. Again, the children are flying their kites. Here again, here the verb fly is used as transitive here. Children again, subject, verb, and you have an object. Okay, what are they flying? The kites. Whenever you ask this question what, you are going to get an answer in the form of a noun or a pronoun only. What or who? Okay, you are going to get an answer as a noun or a pronoun only. Okay, so this is again the object of the sentence. So the verb here is used as transitive. Okay, so let me just give you a few more examples of such words. Okay, so she broke the vase. Here again I have used this as transitive verb. Broke is the verb in the sentence. What did she break? The vase. Again, this is the object. So there is an object, so it is transitive. Similarly, broke is also used as a intransitive verb. Okay, if the vase breaks by itself, just you have kept it there, it falls down due to wind and it breaks. Okay, the vase broke what? Nothing. It actually broke by itself. So there is no object here. There is no object over here. Again, it is intransitive. Bring the cake. Again, it's an imperative sentence. There is no subject. There is no subject. Verb is there. Okay, then object is there. Okay, this is an imperative sentence. I'm taking all types of sentences for you to understand it easily. Okay, so this is an imperative sentence. It has to have an object. Okay, so here again, so same word I have not used, but I have changed the sentence. But I have just told you some like a compulsion kind of thing. So we shall stop here for a few minutes. Okay, so these are few examples that can be used as both transitive and intransitive. Okay, so a few more examples in that, and this the same verb has been used over here. So the heat is the subject, verb again, okay, and the object. Okay, so this is used as transitively because you are having an object there. Again here, expand, again this is the verb, this has a subject. Okay, on hating cannot be considered as an object. It cannot be considered as an object. Okay, keep in mind whenever something starts, some phrase starts with a preposition, it cannot be considered as an object. Okay, on, in, from, to, all these cannot be considered as objects. Okay, so going to the next one, I'm just giving you a few examples. Let us quickly go through these examples. Subject, verb, again the object. The same verb used over here. Birds are flying. So again, birds subject, flying verb. There is no object at all. Okay, fly can be used as both transitive and intransitive. Okay, similarly this side, the guards stopped the train. Who stopped? Guards. Stopped is the verb. What did they stop? The train, that is the object. Okay, again the train stopped. Train has done some action. Stopped is the verb and there is no object at all. Okay, so here the same word has been used intransitively. Okay, so there are few words that can be used as transitive, that can be used as intransitive, but at the same time there are few words that have to be used as intransitive only. Okay, laugh, sleep, all these, they can be used as intransitive only. You cannot have an object for that. I sleep. What do you sleep? You don't have an answer. I laugh. What did you laugh? You have no answer. Okay, you laugh at somebody, you laugh for somebody. Okay, for some joke or something, but you cannot laugh somebody. Okay, you cannot have an object. So such words are there wherein you cannot use them as transitive verbs. They have to be used as intransitive verbs only. Okay, now how do I determine whether the verb is transitive or intransitive? This is the most important question that we have to answer. We have to understand. Okay, so how do we determine whether a verb is transitive or intransitive? Very simple. Just look at the following sentences here. I walked to the school yesterday. Okay, to understand, you just look at the verb, just think over, decide whether the verb is passing on to an object. Is the action happening on some object? Okay, if yes, then it is transitive. If no, then it is not transitive. That means it is intransitive. Okay, so here in this sentence, I walked to the school yesterday. I, doing the doer of the action. So this has to be the subject. Walk, action happening. So this has to be the verb. Okay. Now, I told you to, from and all cannot be considered as objects. Okay. To the school. Okay. I walked to where? The question will be where. Okay. The question will be where and not what. Okay, where, it is telling you some place. Okay, to the school. So this cannot be considered as a noun. School alone is noun, but to the school is not a noun. Okay, yesterday, when, yesterday. It is telling you the time. Time in the sense, it is not telling you the exact time, but it is telling you, it is referring to some time, yesterday. Okay, so here you cannot consider both of them as objects because they are not nouns. Okay, so is the word, just ask the question, is the verb walked in the sentence transitive or intransitive? If it passes on to the object. There are so many words that are there after the verb, but none of them are objects. Okay, whereas you can understand this to the school. Okay, to the school, as I said, you cannot consider that as object because you are talking about the direction. It is actually a phrase. It's a group of words that has no meaning. Again, yesterday, it's an adverb of time. Okay, yesterday is adverb, so it cannot be considered as an object. Okay, it is an adverb. So there is no object in this sentence. Hence, walked is an intransitive verb. Okay, so this has to be considered as an intransitive because, as I said, to the school is a prepositional phrase and yesterday is an adverb. Fine. So let's go further now. So how do you distinguish between transitive and intransitive? That was the question that was posed just before the slide. Very simple technique, I'll tell you how to identify. Just put the question. If you're not able to decide whether the verb is passing on, okay, whether the verb is passing on to an object, you're not able to decide. Okay, so just put a question, what after the verb. Just put a question, what after the verb. If you get an answer, in the form of a noun or a pronoun, then it is a transitive verb. Okay, for example, we'll just take a simple sentence. Cat drank the milk. Okay, cat drank milk. Make it as simple as possible. Okay, so what is my sentence here? Just insert what after the verb. So this is the subject, this is the verb, and this is the object. I don't know whether the object is there or not. I'm not able to decide. So what do? I'll just put the question what after the verb. Cat drank what? Cat drank what? Are you getting an answer? Yes, I'm getting an answer, milk. Suppose I say, I laughed. Okay, suppose I say, I laughed. Okay, I end the sentence. Fine. I laughed. Laughed what? Are you getting an answer? No, you are not getting an answer. No answer. I laughed what? No answer. Sounds weird, isn't it? The question itself sounds weird. Okay, so whenever you have an object, whenever you are getting an answer for what or who, then it is a transitive verb. Okay, who also I must give you an example. Suppose I say Ram killed Ravan. You cannot say what, isn't it? Ram killed Ravan. Okay, here you have to ask a question, who only. After this verb, this is the subject, verb, put the question what or who in case of living things. Okay, so you can say who. If you are talking about people, then you are getting an answer, Ravan. Hence, killed is a transitive verb. Killed becomes a transitive verb. Okay, so this way, whenever you put a question after the verb, question what or who, you get an answer. Usually, you need not have to worry. Usually, for all the questions of what and who, you will get a noun or a pronoun only as the answer. Okay, you need not have to worry too much about it. Okay, so just ask the question what, you get an answer, it is transitive. You don't get answer, then it is intransitive. Fine. So now let us just look at these few sentences. The baby smiled beautifully. Here again I am trying to give you an example here. The baby smiled, this is the verb. The baby smiled what? Is this giving an answer for this question? No, right? This is an adverb. This is giving an answer for how did the baby smile, not for what. Okay, so here this becomes an intransitive verb because it is giving an answer for how and not for what. Okay, you have to get an answer for what or who only. Okay, so you are not getting an answer. So this verb that is there, it is an intransitive verb only. Okay, So now let us just have a recap of what we learned today. What did we learn today? We learned about sentences, phrases, everything. But main thing what we learned was transitive verbs. Those sentences which have an object in the sentence, those sentences which have an object and the action in that sentence passes on to the object, then they are called as transitive verbs. Those sentences in which there are no objects at all, those verbs in those sentences are called as intransitive verbs. Okay, these transitive verbs usually answer the question what or who. Okay, they answer the question what or who. Okay, these do not answer. There is no answer for what or who. Okay, so they are called as transitive. If at all you find it difficult to distinguish between transitive and intransitive verbs, just ask a question what, like does the action pass on to an object? Okay, just put the question what or who. If you get an answer, then it is transitive. If you don't get an answer, then it is intransitive. Okay, if you get an answer, then it is transitive. Then if you don't get an answer, then it is intransitive. Fine, let us meet again in our next session, that is about active and passive voice. Okay, so thank you so much. See you soon in the next session about active and passive voice. See you. Thank you.